Welcome back, students. Welcome to biology classes. Today we are going to see 10th science biology and we are going to see the topic human digestive system. We have already seen the heterotropic nutrition, and in that we have seen three different types of nutrition, that is holozoic nutrition, saprophytic as well as parasitic. Now we have already seen about the nutrition in amoeba as well as paramecium. Today we are going to see about the human digestive system. Humans perform the holozoic nutrition, and the nutrition in human beings comprises of alimentary canal and associated digestive glands. So this alimentary canal is being formed with the help of different organs which are linked with each other, and there are two main accessory digestive glands, that is liver and the pancreas, which secretes their secretion, and it is responsible for carrying out the digestion. So this is the figure which is explaining the human digestive system. So these are the several uh, parts which are involved, the organs which are involved in the digestive system, or we can say the alimentary canal. So starting with the mouth, right, in the buccal cavity there is presence of tongue, and this tongue is having the salivary glands, and this salivary glands is secreting the saliva, and this saliva is having an enzyme which is responsible for digesting the starch, and it gets converted to simple sugar, that is glucose. After then there is presence of esophagus, that is a narrow small tube which is responsible for swallowing the food from the mouth to the stomach. Next organ is the stomach, where the digestion takes place. After the stomach, the food or the partially digested food goes into the small intestine. In the small intestine, the digestion and absorption takes place, and whatever undigested food is there, that passes to the large intestine. The main function of large intestine is to do the reabsorption of water. So throughout the large intestine, the water has been reabsorbed, and at last, with the help of the anus, the all the waste materials or the fecal matter is being ejected out. Now, here is the whole flowchart. Through in, like, there are several organs which are involved in the alimentary canal, and with the help of all these organs, the whole digestion process is taking place. So, starting with the mouth involves salivary glands, and this salivary glands secrete the saliva, that is salivary amylase. So, this salivary amylase is responsible for converting the starch into the sugar, and that will be a simple sugar, right? Now there are teeth which are present, which are responsible for chewing as well as grinding the food. The tongue is there, which is for rolling the food as well as for get to know what is the exact taste of the food. So these are the several organs which are involved in the mouth, right? So tongue, that is a muscular organ which is responsible for the taste. The teeth is for chewing and grinding, as well as there is presence of gland, that is salivary glands, which secretes the saliva, that is salivary amylase, and it converts the starch into sugar. After then, when the food mixes with the saliva, it becomes soft, and for this reason it can be easily swallowed into the esophagus, and it can reach to the stomach. So the esophagus takes the food from the mouth to the esophagus by peristaltic movements. That is, peristaltic movements means those movements which is in one direction, that is contraction and expansion of the alimentary canal. So esophagus is responsible for uptaking the food from the mouth, and it reaches, or it allows the food to pass till the stomach. Now in the stomach is having a specialized juice, that is gastric juice, which is secreted inside it, and this gastric juice is containing three things. The first is the pepsin enzyme, the second is HCl, and the third is mucus. But for the breakdown of the food and to absorb it, right, there is presence of a biological catalyst, that is known as enzyme, and pepsin is also one of the enzyme which is responsible for breaking down the protein material. So the pepsin is going to act upon the proteins, and it is going to do the partial digestion of the proteins. Next is there is presence of HCl, which makes the medium acidic. That is, it kills all the germs which are present inside the food, and as the direct contact of the HCl should not be there inside the stomach, so there is presence of mucus that protects the inner lining of the stomach. So there will be no direct contact of the HCl with the inner lining of your stomach. So these are the three things which are present inside the gastric juices, and this gastric juice is containing three things, that is pepsin, HCl, and mucus. So pepsin is one of the biocatalysts, that is the enzyme which increases the rate of reaction. Then comes the HCl, which makes the medium acidic and kills the germs or bacteria. And the third, that is mucus, which does not allows the direct contact of the HCl with the inner lining of the stomach. Now, once the food is being churned inside the stomach and the mixing of the food occurs with the gastric juices, these three things act upon the food and make the food very soft, right? It almost converts itself into the liquid state. So once from the stomach, when the food leaves, it goes into the small intestine. Before entering inside the small intestine, there is a common duct in which the liver pours its secretion, as well as the pancreas also pours its secretion. The liver is responsible for secreting the bile juice, whereas the pancreas is responsible for secreting the pancreatic juice. The liver secretes bile, which is responsible for converting the large fat globules into small fat globules. So none another, it is going to feed on the fat molecules, and it is going to convert them into the simpler forms. Another point is that the pancreas is having several enzymes, right? Along with the pancreatic juice is going to have several several enzymes which are going to be present inside it. So when the food is coming in contact with these two secretions, right, their final digestion is going to take place. So the final digestion is very important, because once the final digestion, that is the fully digested food is there, then and then only the absorption can be done. So in the intestine, there will be the secretion of the intestinal juice, and this intestinal secretion is going to contain several enzymes. For the carbohydrates are going to be digested into their simpler form, that is glucose. The fats are going to be converted into fatty acids and glycerol, and the proteins are going to be converted into amino acid. Same way, the pancreatic juice is also containing several enzymes such as trypsin as well as lipase. Trypsin is going to act upon the proteins, and it is going to convert them into peptones. Whereas the lipase is going to act upon the fats, that is the emulsified fats, and it is going to convert those fats into the simpler forms, that is fatty acids and glycerol. Not only this, but also the large fat globules are coming in contact with the bile juice, and for this reason the emulsification takes place, that is the large fat globules are converted into the small fat globules. So when the small fat globules are formed, the lipase enzyme can easily act on them for its conversion into the fatty acid and the glycerol. So all this thing occurs inside the small intestine. So in small intestine, two things are there: the intestinal enzymes are present, as well as along with that the pancreatic juice is also having the pancreatic enzymes. So even the trypsin and lipase are also going to act upon it, and it is going to digest the whole food. So now in the small intestine, the full complete digestion takes place, and once the digestion is completed, the absorption starts, right? So when the absorption is done, the whatever undigested food is there, it is going to be passed to the large intestine. So when the food reaches to the large intestine, again it is in the liquid form. So definitely the majority of the part in the undigested food will be of the water. So the large intestine is responsible for absorbing the excess amount of water from the undigested food, and in the whole large intestine, the water is being reabsorbed by your body, and hence it makes the waste a solid one. And this solid waste is being stored inside a rectum, that is the temporary collection of the waste. And at last, with the help of the anus, the undigested food or the waste material is being digested out. So this is the whole human digestive system which works in this way. Now we here I have also written about the mechanism of the digestion of food. So once we'll go undergo with this some few points to understand in a better way. So food digestion process begins in the mouth. Food is complex in nature. So whatever food we eat, that is complex in nature, and this process it starts from the mouth. Now for the breakdown as well as for the absorption of the food, we need a biological catalyst, and that is known as enzymes. So they are nothing but they are responsible for breaking down the food complex food molecules into the simpler ones. Now, the mouth contains salivary glands that secrete saliva. This saliva contains an important enzyme which is known as salivary enzyme or salivary amylase, and this salivary amylase it is responsible for breakdown of the starch into simple sugars. Next is the food then passes via esophagus into the stomach. So now the food reaches to the stomach. Now the food of the movement the movement of the food inside the esophagus occurs via rhythmic contraction of muscles. So there will be a continuous rhythm contraction of the muscles, and that is known as peristalsis. Okay. Next is when the stomach reaches or accepts the food, right? The stomach is going to mix the food with the gastric glands, that is going to secrete mucus, HCl, as well as pepsin enzyme. This pepsin is a protein digesting enzyme. So that means this pepsin is only going to act upon the proteins and they are going to digest the protein material. After the stomach, the food enters into the small intestine, where the small intestine is comparatively larger in the herbivores than into the carnivores, because the herbivores feed on the green plants, or we can say the autotrophs, right? And for this reason, as there is presence of cellulose in the plant cell, and as the herbivores eat plants only, for this reason it is needing or it needs a comparatively more longer small intestine compared with the carnivores. Next is the complete digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats occurs inside the small intestine. And once the small intestine receives the secretions from the liver and pancreas, right? So the digestion becomes more easier, right? Next, now the bile helps in emulsification of fats. Emulsification means the fat is in complex form, so it is in the large globules form, right? So emulsification is the process of conversion of those large globules into smaller globules, right? So first thing that the bile juice or the bile performs is the emulsification, and second is the pancreas, which secretes several enzymes such as trypsin as well as lipase, which are going to act upon the proteins as well as lipids and digest them, right? In the wall of the intestine, they are also going to contain several glands, and they are going to release the intestinal juice. This intestinal juice is also going to have the enzymes which are responsible for the digestion of the complex food material. Next, now this small intestine have several villi, which are also known as microvilli, and this villi they increases the surface area for the absorption of food. So whatever food is digested into the simple form, so now the food is been ready to be absorbed. So all the nutrients are being absorbed with the help of the villi. So villi is responsible for increasing the surface area so that the absorption can be occurring more faster and more way, right? Next is whatever unabsorbed food is there, it is then transferred to large intestine where water is absorbed. So in the large intestine, the reabsorption of the water takes place, and then the undigested food that has been expelled out from the anus. So this is all about the whole mechanism of the digestion of the food, and you need to draw this figure also because it is one of the most important topic. You need to mention all this organs, right, which are shown over here, and you you need to write about the different organs which are involved in it and what are its function, as well as you have to mention that how the food digestion takes place, that is nothing but the mechanism of digestion of food. So here we complete the human digestive system. I hope you are very clear with today's topic, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.